Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out how Paul Weller wrote Town Called Malice. Never heard this before, let's check it out.
The Jam's Town Called Malice is a brilliant song. It's an instant classic. It was their third UK #1 and stayed at the top for 3 weeks in 1982. And the track screams energy. It's driving groove, blending together bits of punk, ska, new wave, and mod revival. It's fast, it's upbeat, it's infectious, jangly guitars and awesome bass lines. And the lyrics actually say something. It's not just some pop nonsense. It's socially conscious. Its lyrics tell a dark reality, describing the struggles of working class life in a sad, industrial, poverty-stricken town. It's all about youthful defiance in a pretty politically bleak time. No wonder it's been a favourite on radio stations ever since its release. I mean, I must have pressed play on that song thousands of times during my time on the radio.
Wow.
But it did mark the end for the Jam. Now, if you love delving into music history like I do, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join our pack.
Y'all be sure to go to Music Mongoose and like and subscribe. I'm already subscribed. Let's just like this video, awapachow. And also, I've never heard this song, but the little sample I heard towards the beginning kind of reminded me of that Jet song, Are you gonna be my girl? You know what I'm talking about? That sounds like Motown. Cool. Okay. Yeah, it does sound like that Jet song. Wish I could play it for you. But I can't.
The trio embraced the style and spirit of the 1960s youth movement, blending it with the anger and energy of punk to create their own sound. When the Jam scored their first hit in April 1977, Paul Weller was just 18 years old. Despite achieving immense success, with the band's original 18 singles reaching the UK top 40, Weller soon began to feel limited by the trio's format, and he sensed his songs needed further development. We'd been a three-piece for years, he told The Guardian in 2012. There are only so many variations on the guitar/drums format, so rightly or wrongly, I was getting into brass sections and female vocals and keyboards, and trying to expand our sound. The fifth Jam album, Sound Effects, had been released the previous year and produced the #1 hit Start. For the follow-up, Weller and the band entered Air Studios on Oxford Street in London to collaborate with producer Pete Wilson. During a short tour before Christmas 1981, the band debuted a few new songs, one of which was Town Called Malice.
Air Studios, y'all. Show me on a map. I just looked up Air Studios for another video on my other channel. It's an old church that they turned into, or cathedral that they turned into a recording studio. There it is. So it's in northwest London. I don't know what neighborhood that is. Let's look at some photos. See, it looks like a church on the outside, but on the inside, it's a studio, Neve console, pipe organ, cloud, reflector, sign out front. Beautiful. Beautiful. A lot of natural light. So this is where they recorded this, I think.
To collaborate with producer Pete Wilson, entered Air Studios on Oxford Street in London to collaborate with producer Pete Wilson. During a short tour before Christmas 1981, the band debuted a few new songs, one of which was Town Called Malice. Now, at this time, Paul Weller was experiencing a period of change. He was paying close attention to the events that were happening in the UK. While touring often kept him in his own bubble, the band was travelling across the country, witnessing firsthand the changes taking place. You see, it was the beginning of the hardline Margaret Thatcher years, and many areas, particularly in the north, were being devastated. Weller, a young man at the time, was absorbing it all and reflecting on the situation. And at the same time, Paul Weller was becoming increasingly interested in black American soul music.
A lot of people were in the north, weren't there? Wasn't there a soul movement in the north? Also, for my American friends, Margaret Thatcher was a prime minister and she privatized a lot of industries that the government owned before. And she closed a lot of coal mines in the north. And there are a lot of these cities that were built around the coal mines, and suddenly all these people didn't have jobs. They didn't have anything else to do. Way to go, Margaret.
During Jam tours, they had a DJ named A.D. Crosdell, who ran a 60s club, and Crosdell introduced Paul Weller to underground music, to what would become Northern Soul, which had a profound impact on him. The title, Town Called Malice, is a play on Neville Shute's 1950 novel, A Town Like Alice, which tells the story of a couple who move from post-war England to Australia. I'd never read the Neville Shute novel, A Town Like Alice, but I must have seen the title, he would later say. Unlike the novel, Paul Weller's lyrics in this song reflect the unrest in the UK during the summer of 1981. As I've already mentioned, the country was deep into Margaret Thatcher's tenure as Prime Minister, facing a worsening recession, with key industries closing down, and unemployment reaching over 2.5 million for the first time in 50 years.
Wow.
Things weren't so great, to put it lightly. That April, riots erupted in Brixton over the police's treatment of black youths, with similar disturbances breaking out elsewhere across the country. Around the same time, the establishment celebrated the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer.
I feel like I've heard of that Brixton riot. Brixton riot. 1981. It came up by its tail. The 1981 Brixton Riot, or Brixton Uprising, was a series of clashes between mainly black youths and the Metropolitan Police in Brixton, London. Between 10 and 12 April 1981, it resulted from racial discrimination against the black community by the mainly white police, notably over the police's increased use of stop and search in the area, and tensions resulting from the deaths of 13 black teenagers and young adults in the suspicious New Cross house fire that January. That's intense. Yeah, okay.
While the government began privatizing key national assets, including the sale of British Telecom. See, at the time, Thatcher's government believed that privatizing state-owned industries would encourage competition, improve efficiency, and stimulate economic growth. The goal was to reduce the role of the state in the economy and promote free market principles. And the privatization of BT was a significant movement in the UK's economic history, marking a shift towards more neoliberal economic policies. However, this move was controversial, with critics arguing that it led to higher prices for consumers and reduced public control over vital national services. There was a phony pretense that we could suddenly all be middle class because we were allowed to buy our own houses, get a mortgage, and be in debt for the rest of our lives, Weller writes in the book Suburban 100 Selected Lyrics. I was trying to capture a sense of the anger that I felt, that a lot of people felt, about Thatcherism, and the way that she and the Tory party at the time were trying to dismantle the communities of the working classes. So those brilliant lyrics in A Town Called Malice juxtapose the aspirations of the new middle classes with the harsh reality of life in the 1980s. Better stop dreaming of the quiet life, because it's the one we'll never know.
Oh, damn. Let's read these lyrics, y'all. It feels like it's time. Better stop dreaming of the quiet life, 'cause it's the one we'll never know. That's the one he just said. And quit running for that runaway bus, 'cause those rosy days are few. And stop apologizing for the things you've never done, 'cause time is short and life is cruel. But it's up to us to change this town called Malice. Rows and rows of disused milk floats stand dying in the dairy yard, and 100 lonely housewives clutch empty milk bottles to their hearts. Hanging out their old love letters on the line to dry, it's enough to make you stop believing when tears come. Fast and furious in a town called Malice. Struggle after struggle, year after year, the atmosphere's a fine blend of ice. I'm almost stone cold dead in a town called Malice. A whole street's belief in Sunday's roast beef gets dashed against the co-op. To either cut down on beer or the kids' new gear, it's a big decision in a town called Malice. The ghost of a steam train echoes down my track. It's at the moment bound for nowhere, just going round and round. Playground kids and creaking swings, lost laughter in the breeze. I could go on for hours, and I probably will, but I'd sooner put some joy back in this town called Malice, in this town called Malice, in this town called Malice. They really do capture a vibe. There's some specificity. Okay.
The lyrics go. Now, Weller's hometown, Woking, was a typical commuter town for London. It was 23 miles away from central London, and it was a conservative stronghold politically. And not every...
Show me on a map. It was called Woking, and it's unwoke. Southwest London. Woking, let's look at photos. Oh, beautiful. It's a beautiful lake. Swans. Nice. Okay. Nice. Oh, it looks pretty nice. Okay. Conservative stronghold.
Everyone could afford London, and it was a conservative stronghold politically. And not everyone could afford the suburban lifestyle that it promoted. He explained the inspiration behind the lyrics. They're partly about Woking, where I grew up, which had always been a bit of a depressed place. The line rows and rows of empty milk floats dying in the dairy yard was directly influenced by Woking, where there was a milk yard. The ghost of a steam train reflects his childhood, as they lived near the station, and he could always hear the trains shunting at night. Cut Down the Beer or The Kids' New Gear was about how people were struggling and had to make decisions about what to buy. Even before the 80s, many people were living paycheck to paycheck. I remember my mum and dad. I don't think the swinging 60s ever reached Woking. They were always arguing about not having enough money, Weller said. Those suburban images were very vivid in my mind, and many people connected with them. Whether they are entirely true doesn't matter. They serve as metaphors for what I saw happening. Now, the actual music for the song came out of the band jamming, which they often did, and it emerged from Paul Weller's growing interests in disco and soul music. I suppose the overall sound or effect is quite soul-influenced, but not necessarily Tamla Motown, he explained in a Jam Fan Club newsletter. I really wanted to try and create a 1980s brand of soul. From there, Paul Weller added the middle eight and refined the song, adding in the organ. And the whole process was completed fairly quickly. Weller felt immensely positive about this new song, and when he played it to his band and friends, they all felt the same as well. And one thing was very clear from the beginning. There was a massive contradiction with the song. The vibe of the song was uplifting, almost gospel-like, but of course those lyrics carried a very hard realism. A key record for Weller during this time was Michael Jackson's 1979 album Off the Wall, a disco classic.
I don't hear the Michael Jackson influence. I just listened to a little bit of every song on Off the Wall, and I didn't really hear one that reminded me of A Town Called Malice. I wonder what the influence was.
Bruce Foxton, on the other hand, drew inspiration from the Supremes' 1966 hit, You Can't Hurry Love.
That's what
with
I'm
its
hearing.
Distinctive bass line influence.
Dun, 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 dun. Sounds like similar key, same kind of drum beat.
Cream's 1966 hit, You Can't Hurry Love, with its distinctive bass line influencing Town Called Malice. Dennis Munday, Polydor A&R man, who worked with the Jam throughout their career, later said, Paul was never happy with the pace of Malice, preferring to play it at a slower tempo, which he was able to do much later. And this Dennis Munday chap, the Polydor A&R man, later described that Weller seemed to have something to prove with this new album, The Gift. I can remember being at Air London and listening to a playback of The Gift. Paul definitely wasn't happy, thinking it was their final album, and he almost certainly knew that. Maybe he thought, I want it to be the best.
What didn't he like about it? He felt artistically restricted by the Jam sound, and that the band's lineup was too musically limited to explore the new soul and R&B influences he was gravitating towards. This dissatisfaction ultimately led to him to break up the band at the peak of their success. Weller had developed a strong interest in American soul, jazz, and European pop, moving away from the Jam's signature British mod punk rock style. He was attempting to incorporate these influences into The Gift, but he felt constrained by the existing sound. He found the rhythm section frustratingly limited and believed they wouldn't be able to keep up with the more sophisticated material he envisioned. Weller was influenced by bands like the Beatles and The Who consistently evolved their sound from album to album, and he wanted the same artistic freedom to change and grow. He formed the Style Council after the Jam broke up. Let's look up the Style Council. What's up with that? Is it soulful? What's their top song? You're the Best Thing. Let's hear it. It is kind of R&B soul. Oh, they have a bunch of albums. Let's listen to this first one. Long Hot Summer. Speak Like a Child. Interesting. Yeah, what I heard was not necessarily R&B and soul. It was more like a 80s rock. But I heard female vocals, like you mentioned, and an organ, no guitars.
Now, The Gift, of course, featured several other musicians as well. For example, producer Pete Wilson played keyboards on several tracks, and there was a brass section, while the song Precious showcased a strong disco influence with a funky bass line.
Hang on. Pete Wilson. What else has he done? Pete Wilson, record producer. He's got a Wikipedia. Oh, he worked at Air Studios. And he worked with George Martin, Tony Visconti, Chris Thomas, Jeff Emmerich, and Bill Price. David Gilmour, Brian Eno, Neil Sedaka, Bill Bruford, Alexis Corner, and Peggy Lee. Okay. The Passions, Sham 69, Paul Weller, The Jam. He also did Style Council, The Blow Monkeys, Digging Your Scene, and Limping for a Generation, and Animal Magic. Good for him. Way to go, Pete.
And with this release, it became clear that the Jam were moving away from their mod or punk roots. And it was this relentless pursuit of new sounds by Paul Weller that ultimately led to the end of the Jam. Town Called Malice with B-side Precious went straight to #1 on the UK charts on Tuesday the 9th of February and stayed there for 3 weeks.
Wow.
This success came at the expense of rival label EMI, whose act The Stranglers was stuck at #2 with Golden Brown. The Jam also released 2 more non-album singles during the summer of 1982.
Y'all, I reacted to a Music Mongoose video about Golden Brown. Check it out.
Both featuring the soulful brass that had been heard on The Gift, The Bitterest Pill I Ever Had to Swallow, and Beat Surrender. At the end of October in 1982, Paul Weller announced that the Jam was coming to an end. Bruce Foxton and Rick Buckler were shocked by Weller's decision.
Oh, really?
After the last show, I just went home and sat there, he later said. I couldn't
man.
think what to do. It was hard. It's like losing your job. I thought, what am I going to do now?
What do you
However,
do?
Weller was resolute that ending the Jam was the right move. I wanted to end it to see what I was capable of, he explained in a 2015 documentary. To me, Town Called Malice is the perfect song for the Jam. It perfectly encapsulates what they're all about. In a similar way to how Up the Junction perfectly encapsulates what Squeeze is all about. That, to me, is also a perfect song.
Oh, yeah.
I've made a video about how Squeeze made that song as well. You can click over here and watch that one next.
I've reacted to that video. Be sure to check it out. Y'all be sure to go to Music Mongoose and like and subscribe. What did those guys end up doing after the Jam? Bruce Foxton, the Jam, later career. After the Jam broke up, he pursued a brief solo career. He released an album. He stayed with Stiff Little Fingers for 15 years. That's a long time. Foxton and Buckler announced they would be touring together again as From the Jam with members of Buckler's Jam tribute band, The Gift. Oh, okay. So Bruce stayed in the music. What did Paul Richard Buckler do? Early years, the Jam. He set up a new band called Time UK, featuring himself on drums, Jimmy Edwards, Danny Custo, Martin Gordon, Sharp, where he reunited with Bruce Foxton again. Okay. He moved into production, running a studio in Islington, working on the album Bound for Glory by the Highliners, The Family Cat, Tell 'Em We're Surfing, and went into business as an ad hoc carpenter fashioning cabinets and distressed furniture in Woking, Surrey. Woking. He might still live there. Then he went back into the music, and that's when he set up that deal with Foxton. Oh, he passed away. Oh, February of 2025. Rest in peace. And Paul Weller went on to do some solo stuff, Style Council. And then he made some solo albums in the 90s. Good for him. Y'all be sure to go to Music Mongoose and like and subscribe. Well, y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me. And I'll see y'all next time. Later.